Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Praveena, for welcoming me on this platform. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Hema Thakur. I am a professional development manager for Oxford University Press at the moment, and I come from a training background. I have been conducting these training sessions online and offline for various institutions, colleges, and schools, and for the empowering women too. This has been my passion, rather. Earlier, I had my preschool, also worked as a teacher for Spanish at various international schools. I'm a consultant for schools at various levels. So this gives me a lot of, I mean, say, immense happiness to be a part of such a beautiful organization. And once again, let me thank Ms. Praveena for having me invited on this platform. So can we start, Ms. Praveena?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you. So today's topic, which is quite prominent world over, I think everybody today is talking about critical thinking. So if you ask me what is critical thinking, and to be honest with us all, we Indians are blessed with critical thinking ability. Critical thinking ability is not an Indian version, absolutely. It is a Western version. Because when we talk about critical thinking, it was imbibed in our Indian culture. We knew what problems can be. And when you know what your problems are, the point is to ask the right questions. And I think way back when we go to the history, when we start talking about the Kautalya, that is Chanakya and everybody, or all our kings, right from the inception of our Hindu mythology, whatever we start with, we were quite prominent about asking the right questions. And every time it is always evident that when you ask a right question, you have the right solution. So let me tell you, this is quite a new, not a new terminology for Indians, but yes, it is a new terminology for Western people because I think they were, I will not say that they were not really a good critical thinkers, but it is evident that this terminology has taken an quite forefront in this coming days, and this has been a lack in our education industry, and that's what the new focus, according to the NCF and according to NEP, it has been added in the curriculum that we should start building the critical thinkers for today's generation. So here is a small definition. If you can just, let me read out for you all. Critical thinking is the, uh, one second, my screen is completely blocking. Yep. Thank you for giving me time.
It's
So
visible, ma'am.
for you, but it is not visible for me because the screen is coming together. I enlarged it. So thank you for this time. So critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, evaluating information gathered from or generated by the observations, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action. It is exemplary form. It is based on the universal intellectual values that transcend subject matters, divisions, clarity, accuracy, precision, consistency, relevance, sound evidence, good reasons, depth, breadth, and the fairness. So what is critical thinking is it's just not asking again just a right question, but evaluating that question, analyzing it, synthesizing it. And how does this comes from? This comes from the observation skills, something that you have already experienced. It and the beautiful way to get the critical thinking skills are through the communication. We will deal in communication a little detail here. And then when you are really able to accumulate this information by various sources, right from observation, your experience, or somebody communication, when you when you can combine all those factors and evaluate it or analyze in different directions, that is a lateral thinking process, only then we can come to a right conclusion. So critical thinking is just not a very simple thing. It really requires a lot of thinking ability. Okay. Now, who are critical thinkers? So as I already told you, who are the best critical thinkers are the persons or anybody who has a skill of asking a question. Now, somebody might feel that, is it a great deal to ask a question? Then let me honestly tell you, today we are not able to really resolve a lot of issues because we are not asking the right questions. Asking a right question itself is a skill. And I'm so glad we have a platform where every Monday, in fact, today, yes. So we have certain thinkers on our board, on our platform, where we are supposed, somebody comes up with a question or a problem, which we try to resolve them by asking them the right questions. So, my dears, all asking questioning is a skill. Asking a right question is an ability. So, it is really worth that we start really building upon this quality of asking the right question. And who are other critical thinkers? Gather relevant information. So it's just not asking the question, and when it looks like a CID officer who really knows what to ask, how to ask, when to ask, which question. So when we are asking the question, we have to gather and synthesize those whole information. Think through the solution and conclusion. Now, this becomes again a crucial thing because when we are asking a question, it shouldn't be the point of view or the perspective has to be to ask the or to come to a conclusion, because we believe that when we are asking a question, it is for the resolution, it is for the answer, but don't make question a problem. So as a person or as a critical thinker, we should be very thoughtful about getting a solution from that particular question. Now consider alternative solutions or systems of thoughts. Now that's the basic key of critical thinking. Critical thinking speaks about the lateral thinking process. That is, taking a point, taking a question from one perspective and giving it various directions, understanding in which perspective, in which thought process the person or that problem is taking a situation. So wherein we get the right format or we get the right solution for it. And communicate effectively. Yes, I know if I have a problem, I know what are the processes of thinking, but if I am not able to communicate, rather, I am not able to communicate effectively, in that case, can I resolve that problem? No, right? Because when we can't speak out our problem properly, how can we communicate? So the process of communication becomes the key factor. So let's see now, what are critical thinking skills? Critical thinking skills always starts with a problem. Problem doesn't mean it has to be a very big thing. Any small question wherein you don't have an answer is a problem. There where it requires our thinking abilities. Thinking ability from a logical point of a view, thinking ability from the different perspectives makes it a critical thinking. Now, so whenever we think about a problem, we have to analyze it, we have to communicate that. While we are communicating, it has to be with an open-mindedness. Now, this open-mindedness it's a huge subject, huge topic to be talked about. Now, there are various means wherein we have to keep our mind and body open while we are listening to others, because it is not your perspective or not our perspective that others are asking us any solution. So we have to be non-judgmental while we are listening to others. We have to be non-biased about it. So while we have an open-mindedness, there is always a good chance that we have a solution for all that problem or that particular barrier. And all those barriers, when we think about the problem solving skills, it really comes up in a very creative or a different manner, and hence be able to resolve these issues. And this is a cycle: analyzing, communicating, open-mindedness, problem solving, and creativity. This is a complete process of a cycle. And it does it mean that one problem is solved, there'll be no problem? No, life is full of problems every day, wherever, whenever we go, right from morning, your early morning chores, your travel to your workplace, your traffic jam is a problem, your signals are a problem, you running late is a problem. Um, you, in the sense, I also come in that actually. So how do we plan? How do we program? And we also need to be analytical about what next, how quickly I have to resolve this. So that quickness of an instant decision taking skills, which resolves then and there certain problems, comes with this critical thinking ability. And critical thinking ability best can be resolved in a practical format. I'm not discussing this in an hypothesis manner. This is perfectly in vision with the real factor. I have been communicating this in my various sessions also, and I have implemented on myself too. There was a journey which was tough for me in my life, but believe me, by getting the skills of critical thinking, asking the right question, I started asking the right questions. I'm not being biased, but this is where it's written in our mythology very clearly. You ask yourself 5 times why, why, why about the first question with your problem. Whatever answer you get, again write why me. Why am I going through this? If this is the solution, why is this solution? And yes, if this is the solution, how can I implement? If you ask this why to yourself 5 times, you will be the best critical thinker ever, and will also be able to resolve n number of problems. This comes great in our corporate industry also, where we tell everybody to become the quite critical thinkers for every problem given to them. Now, this is the cycle again. What is the critical thinking skills? You have to be logical. So sometimes when we are uh, finding out the solutions, we cannot be emotional. So we have to be very logical. We have to be objective. We have to be sequential. A sequence has to be followed. It has to be rational. You have to be focused. You have to be deductive. You have to be linear. You have to be convergent, and you have to be systematic. So these are all the processes. Sometimes, yes, a critical thinking doesn't involve the emotional aspect, because while we connect any problem with emotionals, it leads to sorrow, it leads to a not good judgment or not good problem solving. So it becomes critical, it becomes vital for us to be logical or reasonable or rational there, because the focus or the thought is to resolve an issue and not to really encourage or reoccur with the same problem again and again. So it becomes really crucial to be logical or to be rational out there, and to put it in a sequential format. As I told you, 5 whys always resolves any of the problems that we occur, not only in your personal life, but also in the professional life also. So the real critical thinker mindset is everything is possible. So if you have this mindset, if we all have this mindset, this yes, any problem, anything that comes in the way, I can be a good critical thinker, then this statement goes perfectly with all of us, like everything is possible. And what would be the perspective of a critical thinker is, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Now, this is one of the greatest saying. This can be elaborated in various formats, but let me tell you, it is all about the communication. In communication also, we listen to what we want and we respond. We don't respond actually, so we react to it in our own perspective. Even in the critical format, I was just saying that communication is quite a key. So while in the thinking process also, we have to see the problem as a problem, but not, we shouldn't see the problem as your problem, my problem. From my perspective, any problem is resolved at a higher end or for the various levels. Now, I was talking about being creative on your communication. So the 4 skills of communications becomes, in the first key skill, we start with the listening. While we are listening, we have to think in 2 manners. We all have to listen from others' perspective and not our perspective. And we should always be responsive rather than being reflective or being negative about it. So an open-mindedness is key here while listening skills are going on. There comes the speaking skills. Speaking skills again has 2 variations. One, personal end, and the other third, second person end. And the second aspect of speaking skills are both positive and negative. So while we are speaking, we would always advise, or we always prefer that somebody speaks in a very positive manner. When some problem or when some critical thinking is being involved, it requires a solution. It doesn't require a problem. So whether we have a solution or not, it becomes key that we take that problem or we speak out that problem in a positive aspect. Because somewhere a small positive word can be more influential, more motivational than a negative one. And then it also becomes, another big aspect of communication is always your non-verbal communication. Um, like a simple example is, I want to say yes and I nod like this. So it gives a wrong information about the body language that we are talking. It's a non-verbal communication. If I have to say yes, my head has to nod like this. This is what a very a common belief is. But instead of I saying like this for yes, it immediately gives secondary information that I am not in favor of this. So our hand movement, our eye contact, our lip movement, or my neck movement, all these are the aspects of the non-verbal communication. So we have to be quite mindful not only of our words that we are speaking, but also about the body language also. And the last process of communication skills is your thinking ability. How constructive, how progressive, how analytically I am thinking. And always the thinking process again has two basic aspects. One is the positive and other goes the negative. So always it is advisable that we always have a positive thinking process, or if not, at least neutral thinking process. Because if I'm not really able to think in a good manner, or a neutral manner, shouldn't be a negative manner, because negativity always puts a person's moral down. So the thinking has to be in a progressive format, which will really give a right thinking ability or mentality. So every place of the four communication skills that we are talking about, uh, a progressive aspect, a transformational aspect, a growth aspect has to be kept in the mind. It is not about the creative thinking skills that this communication skills come on, but in our whole life also, in the process of our growth, personal growth or professional growth, everyday aspect, we need to be mindful about all these qualities. So these are the aspects of the problem solving skills. So because when we are saying critical thinking skills, it is all about the problem solving. So we need to be creative, we need to be innovative, there should be a cause, it has to be a goal oriented, there has to be methods. And after doing so many methodologies, so much of a process, there is always a solution for it. You just need to define, again, plan it. So this is again a whole cycle where planning, creativity, innovation, cause, goals, they just keep rotating on and on. And I tell you, if we get into this cycle of understanding what is the problem, how to use those critical thinking analysis skills, I think we can resolve anything that comes in our lives, both professionally and personally too. So with this, I think I'm done with my 20 minutes of presentation, rather 22 minutes. So here I end it, ma'am. I hope I was quite precise. I'm sorry for the constraint of the time. So thank you, Ms. Praveena. Now you can move forward for any questions if you have for me.
Sure, ma'am. Thanks a lot for the wonderful session. If you can stop sharing your screen,
Sure,
I
ma'am.
can ask you some questions.
Yes. Yes, I am off from my screen.
Yes, ma'am. So the first question is, ma'am, how can educators integrate critical thinking into existing curriculum frameworks?
Okay. So let us be very glad to the new education policy and the NCF that has come up by the government in 2023. NCF was launched in 2020. NEP was launched, and in this both the documents, government has very clearly given this four life skills. Life skills, which focuses on the four C's, and one of the C being the critical thinking ability. It is directly imbibed with the curriculum now.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
So, ma'am, what strategies promote critical thinking in students with diverse learning styles? Each child is unique, right? Each child's capacity is different and they like to learn in different ways. So, what would be the strategies, ma'am?
This is what actually, I mean, many schools keep asking me, and many teachers, and in fact, a lot of principals of LET are very keen about understanding how to get this critical thinking skills in the classroom level. So, ma'am, what has happened is all these days, with the, sorry, I would sound a little um, not appealing rather, because we teachers or the schools who've been focusing only on the, from the perspective of gaining the marks, or I mean, quantitative education than the qualitative education. In this process, we actually made our children as a rote learners. So today, thanks to this globalization, I should thank technology. we should also thank the new perspectives that are involving in designing the new curriculum. So, um, as you understand that this every child is a unique, yes, no, every child has a different thinking ability. So what has happened is now in our education system, there are a lot of exercises or a lot of situations are being given where every child needs to come up with their own perspective. And yes, this has to be encouraged by the school and the teachers at the whole, ma'am.
Okay. So, ma'am, students are of different age groups, right? So,
Yes,
can you share any example of effective critical thinking exercises for different age groups, ma'am?
right. So there is, I cannot say that this particular thing would be suitable only for grade one or grade two, or this would be suitable for BTech or intermediate students, ma'am,
Mhm.
because it's a thinking ability, it's a mental ability,
Okay.
which doesn't stop with an age. Because if you see, right now we have I think a 15 years old boy, what's his name? Last week I was reading. He's a Grand Slam master.
Mhm, mhm.
He's done this record at just the age of 15.
Wow.
So, which means his IQ or thinking ability or critical thinking skills are way beyond even an 80 years or 60 years or well intellectual person may have.
Okay.
Or the same process, an 80 years old person or 30 years old man or the CEO of a company, I'm so sorry to quote, a CEO of a person, kind of a person, may not really resolve an eighth grade question answer. Sometimes it happens.
Mhm.
So we cannot give a perfect solution that this is meant for this age or this is meant for that age. It depends on the ecosystem the child has been brought into. It
Okay.
depends on the child's own capability and capacity that has really come to him through his regular problem solving skills.
Wow. So, coming to the assessment, ma'am, how do you assess and evaluate critical thinking skills in students? Be it different age groups or the classes, or how do you assess them?
So, ma'am, see, if we are going in a perspective of a school curriculum, then yes, we have a defined question format wherein we try to gauge their critical thinking ability.
Mhm.
But if I talk the same perspective at a later age format where we really have to solve the real life situations, then there is no I cannot say there is a no barometer for such thing. However, we conduct the psychometer test and all those things, but I don't think that can be really giving a person's real critical thinking ability. I'll give you a quick example. I mean, a real example of it. Now, let us understand in this situation. Um, let me take my own example. At this time of an hour, I'm operating through this system, which is definitely automated, and I know little processes, which is fine for me. Uh, by any chance, now this really gets stopped, or there is some kind of a problem erupts wherein I'm not really able to communicate with you, then what will happen is, as a layman, or my skills is just limited to this front, or immediately if I have somebody beside me who's little may not be qualified but has been dealing with this laptop or the equipments, um, you can't say illiterate, but though he's not qualified for it, but he knows how to operate the system in and out of it, he can be the best resolver, right? So critical thinking is just like that. You may not have, I mean, a person who's suffered so much in his life will become the best critical thinking thinker ever than the person who's educationally qualified with his books, but doesn't have the life skills. So it is
Right.
more so to be based on the life skill. Yet, if you see the new upcoming doctors, so they are giving so much of a practice on the dead corpus to practice on cut, stitch, and all those things, because if they don't do this, they can, if they perform that directly on a live human, there can be so many calamities. So it's just like that. So critical thinking is more on a practice based, more on a life issues, more on the way we have used this small mighty brain n number of times.
Mhm. So, ma'am, coming to the educators,
Yeah.
what professional development opportunities can enhance educators' critical thinking teaching skills?
Wow, that's a great one, ma'am. Yes, because to be honest, the whole process of change has to come from our educators only, because we are the one who are directly influencing our students. So as an educator, I would always appeal all my teachers to all any of the educators, just not the teachers, whoever is really dealing with anybody in a teaching process, to upskill themselves, upgrade themselves on the different skills that are really happening, and try to take an experiential learning out of it. Try to experience that whole situation and then try to give those solutions to the students. Also try and create same kind of an learning, giving them the uh, not only just the classroom based but the life experiential based problems to them, to be resolved in their own manner, which can be the project based if they cannot add in their regular curriculum. Let them take an initiative. I know it's tough on the educators because they're already going through the whole process, but if they can take up this as a project for the holidays or project for the weekends, they can give them some real life situation and ask them to really come up with. But for educators, yes, keep updating yourself. There are so many sites which are offering free classes, which are offering free life skill training programs, or which are really giving, or just make a routine out of your routine. Make one situation that you are learning out of box every day, at least 5 minutes for your personal growth. I tell you, educators would be the best to do this.
Okay. So, are there any resources available, ma'am, for the educators to stay updated on this critical thinking research?
Oh,
And
ma'am, there are indeed lot, ma'am. I will not say because every now and then they are coming up. LinkedIn is a good platform where they offer a lot of courses which are free of cost. They are Ed, edX is another platform where they offer a lot of continuous development process programs on various skills. It is just not critical. They offer this platform for various. TEDx is another platform, online education platform, where they offer a lot of free courses, which are just 45 minutes or 1 hour courses, just to quickly refresh about your abilities. And I think you can generate an online certifications also for them. If not, we can browse on so many websites are nowadays available. I think teachers can always just upgrade themselves on those various sites actually.
thanks a lot, ma'am. That was the last question from my end. Because of
Thank
the time constraint, I'm not able to ask you further more questions. There are
you.
none,
No problem.
actually. You have
Yes,
covered everything. Thank
thank
you for the talk and for patiently answering all the questions, ma'am, and sharing your knowledge on our platform. Would you like to mention anything else?
No, thanks a lot. My gratitudes to basically Sirisha ma'am. Thanks to her who invited me on her platform last time. And considering that, and thanks to you personally and your platform who's invited me for this lovely thought process. I'm so glad for this today's day. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day. I'll
Thank
stop
you. Thank
recording and end the session.
you. Yes, ma'am. Chalo. Thanks. Bye, everybody. Have a great time.